A quiet delivery. One day Thomas arrived at Knapford. He was going to take Annie and Clarabelle to Brendam Docks so they could carry passengers that night. "We need to sleep the entire way to the docks," said Annie. "After all, a tired train is a cranky train," said Clarabelle. Thomas promised he would be quiet. Carly spread a blanket over the coaches so they could sleep. Thomas went as quietly as he could to keep Annie and Clarabelle asleep. It was all going well until Diesel rode up beside him with a flatbed full of rattly pipes. "I've got to get away from this noise," said Thomas. He changed tracks to take a quieter route away from Diesel. The new route was much more peaceful, but it was very bumpy and twisty. Thomas had just made it past the bumps when it began to rain. "Got to get them out of this rain," said Thomas. Luckily, he spotted a dry tunnel where he could wait until the rain stopped. The tunnel was nice and dry, but it wasn't long before Percy came down the tracks, peeping happily. Thomas had to use his light to signal Percy to be quiet. Percy wanted to help Thomas finish his job. "I'll be as quiet as a mouse," smiled Percy. As the night passed, Percy and Thomas started to get tired. They sang a soothing lullaby to keep Annie and Clarabelle asleep. "Chugga, chugga, snooze, snooze," they sang. The lullaby was too calming, and Percy fell asleep. Thomas was just able to stop him before he rolled too far down the hill and crashed. Thomas could see Brendam Docks, but a herd of cows were blocking the way there. "Sorry everyone, it's an emergency," said Thomas, and he peeped his whistle as hard as he could. The cows moved, but the extra loud whistle had woken Annie and Clarabelle up. "Thomas, you woke us up," said Annie. Thomas felt worried that he had failed. "And you were right on time," said Clarabelle as their passengers appeared. "You got them here well rested and on time," said Percy, but Thomas couldn't hear him as he'd already fallen asleep. "Can you help the engines count everything?" Thomas has suitcases to deliver, but how many? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 suitcases at Knapford Station. Diesel has a lot of sacks to deliver. How many can you count? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 sacks to be delivered. Diesel is going to be very busy. Kana has barrels to transport. Let's count them. 1, 2. There are 2 barrels down at the docks waiting for Speedy Kana to collect. Nia has an oil drum. Let's count it. 1 oil drum. Nia's got easy work today, although that oil drum looks very heavy to me. Percy's delivering the mail as usual. Luckily, we don't have to count all his letters, but let's count his parcels. 1, 2, 3. Percy has 3 parcels to deliver. Well done. The engines are very grateful for your help, I'm sure. Now, let's join Percy, who's trying to make some music. Making music. One day, Percy and Diesel were sent to collect an unusual piece of rubbish from the Duke and Duchess of Boxford. "What is it?" asked Percy. "This is a calliope," said the Duchess. "It is an organ that used to play music, but this one is old and rusty." Percy really wanted to hear the calliope play music again. "If I can make the calliope work, it won't have to be scrapped," he said to Diesel. Diesel hooted with laughter. "But it's just rusty old junk," he chortled. Percy huffed crossly. He was sure he could find a way to make the calliope play again. As Percy and Diesel rattled towards the smelter's yard, they saw Sir Topham Hatt in his car at a crossing. Sir Topham Hatt's car would not start. Percy watched Sir Topham Hatt's men push the car faster and faster until it started. This gave Percy an idea. Percy could push the calliope to make it play. So he pushed it as fast as he could until he reached the very top of Gordon's Hill. Then there was trouble. Percy stopped at the top of the hill, but the calliope didn't. It rattled down the hill, and with a crash, it flew off the tracks. Percy felt terrible. "The calliope is sure to be scrapped now," he sighed, and steam wheezed from his pistons and whistled. "That's the only music I've heard all day," sniggered Diesel. "That's it," gasped Percy. "Steam will make the calliope play." Percy's driver connected a hose from Percy to the calliope. Percy whistled, and as the steam shot into the organ, it began to play. Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Well done, Percy," he boomed. "You have saved the calliope." Everyone came to hear the wonderful music, and Percy felt very proud indeed. Thomas, Kana, Sandy and Carly are all at the recycling plant. Look closely and see if you can find the following items in the picture. Can you find an orange barrel, a red barrel and a blue barrel? Yes, there they are. Do you think you can spot a large crane arm? Yes, that's right. Carly has a big crane arm. Can you find a sign with a drawing of a tin can on it? There it is. That's where people can bring empty tin cans to be recycled. Can you find Sandy, the little rail speeder? Yep, there she is. Finally, can you find the number 1 engine, Thomas the tank engine? There's Thomas, peeping out from behind the shed. Well done. Let's listen to another story. Very important sheep. One evening, Sir Topham Hatt came to visit Percy at his shed. "Tomorrow will be the spring fair. Percy, I need you to go to Farmer McColl's farm and collect his new spring lambs and ewes," Sir Topham Hatt told Percy. The next day, Percy did his mail rounds as usual, and then rushed back to collect a livestock wagon to carry the sheep in. He was in such a rush that he bumped the wagon and didn't realise he'd made a hole in it. Percy arrived at the farm and collected the sheep. "Have to hurry, very important sheep coming through," said Percy with pride. He didn't realise it, but the hole in his wagon was big enough for a sheep to fit through, and every time he stopped, a sheep jumped out onto the tracks. Later that day, Thomas was pulling Annie and Clarabelle. Suddenly, Thomas screeched to a halt. "Whatever's the matter?" asked Clarabelle. "There's a lamb on the track," replied Thomas with surprise. Thomas's guard carefully picked up the lamb and put it on Annie. "Wait a minute, I can't carry a lamb. Think of my upholstery," complained Annie. But in the end she agreed it was probably okay. Thomas set off again, but he hadn't gone far when he found another lamb, then another, and another. Percy arrived at the spring fair right on time. Farmer McColl was waiting to collect his sheep, but when he opened Percy's wagon, it was empty. "There's a hole at the back of the wagon," said Farmer McColl. Percy was very worried. "Oh no, I must have damaged it at the shunting yard." Just then Thomas arrived with a happy peep. He quickly let the sheep off Annie and told Farmer McColl what had happened. "I thought these must be yours," explained Thomas. Percy was very relieved, and so was Annie. I hope I never have to carry livestock again, Percy replied. Can you answer a few questions about the last two stories you heard? Question 1. Which engine was helping Percy in making music? Was it Diesel or Gordon? That's right, Diesel was helping Percy, although Devious Diesel isn't usually much help to a steamy. Question 2. What was Percy collecting in making music? Was he collecting a truck, or was he collecting a calliope? Oh, well done! Percy was collecting a calliope, which he managed to get working. Question 3. Who finds Percy's sheep in Very Important Sheep? Was it James, or was it Thomas? Yes, Thomas collected the wayward sheep. You've done very well, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye. If you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a like below as well as commenting and subscribing. And you can also press the bell next to the subscribe button so that you never miss a video. See you again soon. Bye.